crazy.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I know it's amazing. We've got Wendy here. And Wendy, why don't you introduce our esteemed guest?
Hi. So we have Rennie Cantine from Woodstock, Bearsville. Rennie is a native to the Hudson Valley, and Rennie is the keymaker for the event.
Yeah.
Awesome.
God
Why
bless.
don't you tell us about yourself, Ren?
Yeah, give us a little background.
Oh, okay. I guess my dogs are barking at a deer. But
I just had to get away
Oh,
from the
Hopefully it's not
I got
there.
5 here. They're bound to bark at some point as well. So no worries.
So I got to push OK here to be recorded. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, Meg, you can come over here. My girlfriend's sneaking around the back of the camera. She's on America's Most Wanted.
It's okay. We've all been there.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, my kid is like the 11th generation that grew up in this county. In 1668, my ancestors came here. And I've been playing
And you're
guitar.
related to Rip Van Winkle, correct, Ren?
Yeah, I actually am. That's my band name was Rip Van Ren for a long time when I found that out. And then Todd Rundgren changed my name to Ren Van Stimpy. Because I asked him actually, 15 years ago or something to give me some compliments so I could sell a record. And my producer asked us, and he said, I guess you really don't know my friends. And so Todd was like, oh, I got it. Ren Van Stimpy rocks. Well, not really.
So how old were you then?
Oh, geez. That was back in the 1800s. So I'm not sure. I've lost track.
1800 when you met Todd.
No, but it's a funny thing. I grew up around all these musicians, and they all told me, "Don't make it your life, just play every day." And it was a great thing. I mean, Jesse Greth was the next one in line. He says, "Well, Rennie doesn't suck at guitar playing." And Todd Rundgren, I've just known him since I was a kid, and he's a bitchin' guitar player and a great singer, and I love all his songs. So I'm just really honored to make the Key to the City. I feel like whenever I say Key to the City, it's like it's a town. It's like, no, that's a saying.
Well, it's a city to us.
Yeah.
In the Hudson Valley. Yeah.
Nice. I like that. But my friend Paul Beichert at Timely Signs has helped me with this project, and the guy is amazing. He did 3 of the guitar sculptures that are going on the auction on Saturday at Woodstock on, I guess, the 5th of October. But I'm just, just thrilled. I mean, I guess the background of this whole Key to the City thing was, I grew up with Rick Danko and Levon since I was 10, and I was always hanging out, listening to rehearse and stuff. And I was in one of the rambles with John Barry and Barbara O'Brien, and I saw a picture of Muddy Waters getting a Key to the City. It was 77 maybe, and it was the only one given out. And I was like, Barbara, what's this about? And so she said, well, that's the Key to the City. And I was like, well, that's cool. And so I said, we should give Levon one, because of all he's done for our town. And, I mean, it's funny parallel with Todd, like wanting to get instruments given away to kids from people who don't use them anymore. Levon was doing concerts to raise money for the music program at Ontario and Woodstock Elementary School. So there's a big connection there. But anyway, back to like when I saw that picture of Muddy getting it from Butterfield and Katie Jellinghouse, and I think she made it actually. I told Barbara, like, let's do this for Levon. And it wasn't inspiration in a way, because I saw one of his mandolins hanging on the wall there, and I said, let's make the key out of the mandolin. So I took his mandolin. It was a little Fender one that he played a lot, and I took it off. I put it on a piece of wood, I carved it out, and you got to look up the pictures because it was one of the best days of my life.
Nice.
Just to walk out there. We did it on the village green where I play a lot, and it's right in the center of Woodstock, but the whole place was packed. And Levon came up in a Cadillac and was like, "What's going on?" And we and it was really well prepared. Barbara O'Brien's fantastic.
Barbara
She's
O'Brien is
amazing.
was Levon's manager.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she did all the rambles with him, and she turned his life around, and I got to give her all the props I can because she's been there for me. She's just amazing. But that's kind of the background. Now, since then, we've given it out to like Happy and Artie Trom, Cindy Cash Dollar, Jack DeJohnette, just a bunch of other people that I've always looked up to. And I get to walk up, and my son and I do this thing where we do a Blues Brothers thing where we got suits on and we come out and we got the key, and we usually surprise everybody. But that's the background.
Oh, that's
But you
awesome.
broke the mold with this one for Thom. You think it's a totally different key holder. Am I correct?
It's a different key. It's a different shape. And I don't want to give too much of it away.
Definitely not.
but we're going to actually make the next 5 in Todd's honor, just like we did for Levon, because Jack DeJohnette, he's a drummer and piano player. He accepted this little key. It was like, it's a mandolin. And we put like an old fashioned key inset into it, and nobody complained. So I just, anyway, that's kind of that backstory.
Yeah. So, this is, it's interesting because I know Wendy has been instrumental in just making this happen in terms of just the ceremony and Todd coming back to Woodstock and all that stuff. But I think, I don't know, I always think of the Woodstock connection because of the record Herman and Mink Hollow, Mink Hollow Road. It's sort of a pilgrimage that everybody makes to, that's a Todd fan. They always got to see the road and the road sign. And I know the house is gone now and all that kind of stuff. But what are your memories of back in the days when, Todd was really kind of humming in the area in terms of recording and bringing all these different musicians in?
Oh man, it was kind of the best time of my life, just being a little kid, looking up to these guys. And, he would say, Todd would say, hey, Ren, it's like, oh, you remember me? I think, but I think one of the coolest things that ever happened to me is my first job was at the Bear Cafe in Woodstock. And Bernard Patrell owned a place, and this was in the 70s. I was 15, and Bernard came up to pick me up at my dad's house because he offered me a job washing dishes. And he drove me down Strebel Road to the Bear Cafe, talking to me the whole time in a World War II Jeep, right? And he's like talking to me, I was like, look at the road, dude. And he's like, because it's deadly. And so he says, I'm going to give you $3 more an hour than anybody I hire because your dad is so cool. And all the beer you could steal. And I'm like, Bernard, I'm 15. And he looks over to me driving down the road and says, your dad says you steal his beer all the time. And so like, okay, all right, we're good. And then I get in the kitchen and Todd's band is out getting dinner. And Albert Grossman is like looking over, who is this kid? And then Bernard comes in and he throws me the keys through the window of the kitchen, and I'm washing dishes. I catch the keys and he says, your job now is to drive Butterfield down to Bearsville's theater. And it's like, Bernard, I'm 15. I don't drive. He says, your dad says you steal his car all the time. And so I got out of that night, but I worked there for 3 or 4 years. Um, you know, they had the most beautiful waitresses in the world. Jennifer Condos, who plays bass, and oh God, and so I got to get to do short order. So I made these big salad plates, and I'd make them. He's like, this is for Todd's band, or this is for that band, and that was my thing. I'm an architect now, so I had a good eye for it. But it's like it was the best thing ever.
What was
Great
what was the most memorable band that you remember kind of coming through, maybe stumbling on, but then in the cafe?
Well, I think before that, it was more like my babysitters, which I had many. Um, they all went out with all the cool guys in the bands, like the Blues Magoos, Mike Esposito and Ralph Walsh, Paul Butterfield Blues Band. So I was at all these rehearsals. That's where I was. And so it was, just I'd be reading comic books, taking care of the little kids. And, I just feel like, lucky to grow up in this town and have this town raise me. Um, so just knowing all these guys since I was a kid. Let me just say one little thing about my dad. He was my stepdad, and he was a bartender at Deanie's and Bear Cafe, and even the stuff in the 50s. He was also a PhD in Old English, but he liked both sides of the story. But when Levon and Rick and Todd and Bob Dylan, all these guys, when they moved into town, they were all in their 20s, and they were all at the bar late at night. And he looked after all of them. He got them cars to live in. But it's just like places to live. So they all looked up to him big time. Levon, even 30, 40 years later, he would tell me, your dad saved my life, saved everybody's life. He got us a place to live. He told us to straighten up. And so it was all just this wonderful thing where I just got to grow up around these guys, but they all took care of me. They invite me to a big concert in the city, and they always looked up to me, and I looked up to them too.
When's the last time you saw Todd? Just out of curiosity.
Maybe 2 years ago. Meg's outside. She went to the concert with me, but he's been to Bearsville, every couple of years, and I gotta say, he's a ferocious guitar player, a great singer, and he always looked up to a guitar player in his band named Jesse Gress. And Jesse was in a band with Uncle Funk, local band, because a lot of guys live in Woodstock and they tour the world. They come home, they got nothing to do for a couple of weeks. So my friend Joey Beesmer put this band together with Tony Levin, Jerry Murata, Pete Levin, a couple guys from Saturday Night Live. But we would all play. And, so it's just to get to play with all these guys all the time for the last 40 or 50 years. I mean, Rick Danko gave me my first guitar with my brother Alex and Peter when I was 10.
Wow.
So it just means the world to me to make this for him. I just, I really think he's one of the top dogs in rock and roll.
So, what do you think his reaction is going to be? I mean, Todd. I mean, there's sort of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing, I think, was a lot different because there's so many politics behind it. But I think especially with the connection to Wendy, there's a love involved in this particular ceremony more than just a, typical, publicity stunt award thing. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of affection here. Do you agree with that?
Oh, hell yeah. But Wendy, why don't you say something here?
Why don't I say something? You said you had to say, like,
yeah.
As I mentioned to you earlier, we moved from the city to upstate New York, and I grew up around music. My dad was a big Sinatra fan and then wound up working in and around the organization, wrote 3 books on Frank Sinatra. And I think my music taste was so eclectic that I kind of missed Todd when he was in Woodstock. I think I was probably... Did he leave, Rennie? Do you know?
Had to be wrong. Well, Nearly Human was recorded in 89, and that was recorded in San Francisco. So I'm just estimating. I'm saying had to be 87-ish. Does that sound about right, Rennie?
That's the case. I was probably just going to college. Yeah. And I was doing a lot of theater, working at UPAC. You remember UPAC, obviously, right?
Yeah.
It's still here. I just saw Jeff Beck there last fall.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I had no idea. When I discovered Todd, it was like my life changed. Like, my Sinatra. And I've actually told him that too. So when I started the initiative, I wanted to bring him something from home, knowing the connection to Woodstock. So Bill McKenna, who's the supervisor, was great and offered to give me a proclamation for Todd on his birthday. And I asked about the key. And he said, I'm sorry, but we gave it away. And you know what? He kept his word. And that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
It means a great deal to me. And I think to all of the fans as well.
Yeah.
So, without question, I have to thank Bill McKenna.
Yeah, no, Bill's awesome. I mean, we have actually built the pavilion at the rec field, the playhouse. We've done so many things. The guy he's a great carpenter, and he also donates his time a lot. But back to, when you were saying, what do I remember about then? It's like kind of back to the Bear Cafe. It's like it's silly stuff, really, but when Albert came in to check on the big salad plate that I made for the band, he was just like really into giving them some props. And he says, you bring it out. It's like, what? There's a waitress right here. No, you bring it out to the table. You made it, So I'm bringing out this big salad with avocados and tomatoes and everything that's like nicely done. And all the guys in the band was like, say, yeah, thanks, and shake my hand. And, that was when I was 15, 16. So later they remembered when I started playing guitar. And I guess one of my favorite memories in Woodstock was I started this series in 98, I think it was. It's called the Guitar Spotlight Series, where we would invite session guitar players to play guitar with a house band, which was the best band of Woodstock, from my opinion. Jerry Marotta from, Tony Levin, Pete Levin, Joe Beesmer. And we had a house band where we'd bring in over 100 guitar players over the couple of years that we did it to play with us. And Jesse was part of Joe's band. So I guess it was the second or third show at the Tinker Street where Bob Dylan learned how to play music upstairs, I guess. They called it the Cafe Espresso back then. The Pastorells did it. And I come out on stage and Jesse's there, Jesse Gress and Joe Beesmer and this incredible band. And right there in the center in the front row is Todd Rundgren, like just giving his buddy Jesse like props. You're playing with this garage band in Woodstock, and I'm here to support you. So I know Todd loves his town, and I think back to your other point, it's like he's just going to be overwhelmed with the love that we got for him, and he deserves it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I always feel like, somebody that listens to a lot of music, and sometimes I just like to just ruminate and dissect and all that stuff. And with Todd, career wise, as with so many other artists, the area where they are has such a profound influence on who they are as
Yeah,
a musician. I mean, that Woodstock era, the
yeah,
albums that he recorded during that era have
no
a
doubt,
distinct feel to it, and
no doubt.
just as the San Francisco stuff and maybe even the later stuff. So yeah, I feel like it's, and a lot. I mean, to get to the ceremony itself at the Bearsville Theater, just the list of records that I own that were recorded in that studio. I mean, it's incredible. Rush, Blues Traveler, Dave Matthews Band. I mean,
Yeah,
the Utopia Rye album. I mean, so many, Meatloaf, Bad Out of Hell, so many records that were
yeah,
recorded there. It's, to me, it feels, when I first entered the theater, I almost got chills to feel like I was in this space where all this creating
yeah,
had happened. And,
yeah, yeah,
it's incredible.
yeah. It's like there's this whole thing about the Indians before we came here around this area were very spiritual, and it's just I'm so glad I grew up here. It's just it definitely affected me. There's just a magic here. It's like Michael Lang invited me and Gabe Butterfield back to play at Woodstock '94 when we were living in California. And when I got home, I had been in school for 10 years in California. And when I got home, it was like something was like, I have to stay. And so I'm so glad I did. I just,
I am too.
yeah, you know, it's just so fun here. So it's great talking to you guys.
It's
Wendy, quick question, just so
sure.
because I know we don't want to go too long because people's
Yeah.
attention spans are only so long. But and it's been such a great time chatting with both of you. How did you two guys connect? And I know at some point you were thinking, you said, okay, we want to do the key and all that other stuff.
Right.
I mean, you had a lot of options out there. How did you wind up with this guy? And
Well,
he's pretty incredible.
actually, the name Cantine, and my dad was a baseball player and he was a Brooklyn Dodger fan, but he was a little league president in Ellenville for probably 30 years. And Cantine Field, which is Rennie's family, was a name that I'd heard all my life. But Bill had told me, Bill McKenna, that Rennie was the key maker, and I reached out to Rennie, who has been his help has been invaluable. I can't even begin to explain to you what this man has done for us. He is a genuine saint, good human being. You don't meet people like Rennie every day.
Oh,
And this has probably been the best part of this whole experience, honestly, Thom, is
oh,
Rennie.
wow. Thank you. Jeez,
No,
that's great.
thank you. Thank
I got
you.
to say something about the baseball thing, okay?
Sure.
When I closed Woodstock '94 playing the national anthem because Jimi Hendrix's half sister, I guess she is, asked me to do it, and
wow.
Michael Lang said it would be great, and so I played it. My picture went all over the world, and Peter Gabriel was like, "Who is this kid?" I was supposed to close the concert, but ever since then, I got asked to play the national anthem at like hundreds and hundreds of events, and some big baseball teams and college basketball, and Rick Danko's when he got back from jail in Japan, we had a big concert. But the thing is that Jack Keeley, it was the legendary coach of the Saugerties Dutchmen. So they played at Saugerties, Cantine Field. And so he asked me to play the national anthem for the baseball team. And so I'm like, sure, but can I be on the team? He's like, what? It's like, you play baseball? It says, listen, my great grandfather played in 1888 in Saugerties, so I can play baseball, right? You got to tell your dad somehow. And so I went down there. He says, listen, I don't know if you can suit up for the game, but we'll give you batting practice. And so I played batting practice with the Saugerties Dutchman, cracked a couple good ones, had some good fielding. It was just like a beautiful day. I just ran
sure.
into a letter that he wrote about trying to get me to play for the Yankees for the
Wow.
national anthem. You know, he played really well, and he said all these nice things like you just did. That was really sweet.
Do you remember UB Richter?
Not
Judge
sure,
Richter?
but I should remember that name.
I think he was in charge of I think he was the district head of our area. He was this Kingston City Court judge. He was a great guy,
Okay.
wonderful guy.
Rector, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Many, many memories. Baseball, Todd, upstate New York.
Yeah, no, it's all fun. I like
Hey, maybe you can play the national anthem at this event.
Oh, you know,
What?
it's funny because Elliot Landy, has been a friend of mine to take a bunch of pictures of me, and great photographer, great friend. Last year, this is my 29th year playing at the fireworks in Woodstock.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I've been headlining the show for 29 years, you know, with like Happy and Artie and Leave On, all the best bands coming to play for free for the Volunteers Day. And I just ran into Elliot a little while ago, and he said, Ren, why don't you play the national anthem anymore at the fireworks? And I was like, well, some vet thought it was, he just didn't like it, the rock and roll part of it. And it's like, okay, but you got to do it this year. So I started practicing it again.
Oh, nice.
So, it's a thought. It's a thought, you know, Tom?
Oh, well, you know, my national anthem story, not to divert too much, but I used to organize a running event, and the person that was supposed to sing the national anthem didn't show up. So I had to sing it on the fly.
Wow.
And I had a rain windbreaker on, but underneath it I had a tie-dye shirt. You know, I have a lot of Grateful Dead shirts, and I love to wear tie-dye. I wish Todd Rundgren's people would listen and make good Todd Rundgren tie-dye shirts. They don't exist. So if anyone's out there wants to send me one,
Pay
2X.
attention.
But so we get the race feedback form, and somebody writes in it, and it was a, you know, veteran. He was like, you know, I was totally disrespectful to have that guy in the tie-dye shirt singing the national anthem. I was like, wow, I didn't know that was a thing, you know. But it just kind of goes back to, you know, you never know who you're going to offend. And I don't think Hendrix was trying to offend anybody with his rendition of the anthem either. But, you know, people look at that as some kind of, and Hendrix, I think people forget he was a veteran himself. He served in the military. So
yeah, I mean, have you seen Chris Stapleton's version, like maybe a year or two ago?
I have not. No.
Oh, you got to look it up, man.
We'll check it out for sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
But, all right.
Well, let's wrap up, and it's just a fun conversation. Maybe we'll do another one when we get closer. If nothing else,
sure.
We're at Woodstock together, sitting around. Hopefully, we can either have a cup of coffee or something to
absolutely
to chat.
So are you coming up to Woodstock to see?
This is Wendy and I will actually be able to see each other in the flesh. So
in the flesh,
nice. And I did
the
a
flesh,
whole...
and I'm going to be coming up sooner again.
Yeah,
you know, we kept our home, and I miss it. I mean, Jersey's a concrete jungle. I hate it. Forgive me, the Garden State.
Yeah, but, I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony when Todd didn't, you know, and I've told the story to other people, and I went as the fan. You know, it was such a validation of my love of his music. And as I was there, Regina Dorfmeyer was another person who I saw at the ceremony as well. But I literally was crying as he was getting inducted because it meant something to me as a fan. You know, I think a lot of times these ceremonies, but I think with this one, like I said earlier, I don't know why I've got the I think bug. I keep saying that over and over again. But this particular ceremony is, I mean, Todd should really be touched by this because there is an authenticity to it because of Wendy's connection as a fan as being kind of because of your relationship with him, Ren, and you know, I really believe that, especially when it comes from an artist, it's like if you write a love song to somebody, there's affection in it, and if you do a piece of art and you have an affection for that individual, and even as a concert photographer, I take better pictures of the musicians that I love than the ones that I'm indifferent about, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
And I
love
destroy
that.
I destroy his
love that.
photos. I redo them.
Yeah. But no, it's true. It's true. I mean, when you have a relationship with the artist,
Yeah.
It's a love
it
note to a
becomes,
legend.
yes, it is.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's great love. It's
So,
a
No
different
doubt.
different
No
feeling.
doubt.
Here's my final curveball I want to throw at you. Yeah, and it literally just popped into my head. And if I need to edit this out, I will, but hopefully I don't have to. Is there a way we can incorporate Jesse into this ceremony? Because as I was sitting here thinking, I go, and we talked about the influence on Todd, the Woodstock area. If you think about it, even after he moved, that influence continued on through Jesse, because Jesse was such an
Absolutely.
important part of his career. And I think it would be neat to figure out something, maybe a piece of something, or a piece of wood that came from his property, or any of that kind of stuff. And I think that would be pretty
Could we
cool.
posthumously give him a key as well in a secondary, or just something to honor him?
Well,
Yeah.
listen, I got this covered.
Oh, good.
I knew you would.
I got this covered. So,
Oh, right. See, and I
can go
thought I was
out
being all original.
no. I mean, what you said is so spot on. Thank you. It's this summer's. Oh man, it just gets me worked
Okay.
up thinking about Jesse.
It's okay.
But
It's okay.
but the thing is that I made Jesse a guitar sculpture, and I'll send you the pictures, okay?
That'd be great.
But it's on the map. It's in everywhere. So I dedicated this summer's guitar sculpture exhibition to Jesse Gress.
Nice.
And I, near the end of when I'm making stuff, like I always make all the stuff that we have to make, just like represent the stores and people's ideas and all this stuff. And at the end, I always have like these made up parts, or like the inverse of, like, I cut out a guitar and there's like an inverse. And so I was like really inspired. I had this old owl thing. It's like a metal owl. And I saw this. I'll send you the picture so you guys can understand. But it just kind of came over me. It's like the owl was Jesse.
Hmm.
And I'm like, the wisest guitar player I ever knew. And so I made this sculpture that I made it for the Woodstock Historical Society. And it's just one of the coolest things I've ever done. I go out there and sit there and stare at it.
Oh, Rennie.
Yeah,
it's corny. It's corny, but
no, it's not. It's not. And many of us echo the same sentiment. Of course, your connection was a little different, but thank you. And it would be wonderful if we could, maybe show that or mention it, or we'll figure it out. I'm sure you got it.
Yeah, no, we got it. I mean, we're auctioning all these guitar sculptures off next Saturday in Woodstock. So it might be gone, but I could ask the people to bring it down to Barrisville.
Do you want to give us that date on that info on the auction and the benefit for family of Woodstock, right?
Sure. Yeah, no, it's the auction is this Saturday, October 5th, at the pub in Woodstock, which my dad bartended at. And actually, that's where Sabrina and the Gems kind of came up 8 years ago, playing Friday night happy hour. But we're going to come down and play on that day, next Saturday at 2. And then at 4, Martha Frankel is going to come down and auction off the guitars, which she's done before. And it's just, I'm just so glad to grow up in this town. I'm so glad to meet you guys. I can't wait to meet you in this town and show you around and,
oh yeah,
get some espresso at Oriole 9. It's going to be fun.
Really excited now.
Yep, for sure. All right. Any last thoughts, Wendy?
I just want to thank Rennie again and Thom, and we've got to get the word out. And we're going to have a successful instrument drive. Those kids will get their instruments, and that is important because it's important to Todd. It's important to Spirit of Harmony. It's important to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
There's a lot
I
of
thank you.
things that are going with this. And obviously we're going to do a series of videos related to the event itself. But this one, I mean, Wendy and I know Ren knows what the design looks like too. I think we got a pretty good idea what and
Some
we got that.
surprises still coming, right?
We got
for
some
sure.
surprises. Yeah. There was a young
To
lady
be revealed.
young lady that I did some podcasts with to promote Todd Stock, who assisted with the selection of it. So we're very excited about that too.
Oh, I think I know who that lady is.
I know someone I haven't seen in person in a long time, which would be great to see. It's always it's weird, and I'm sure you have this too, Ren, where it's like, you have people that the virtual thing is nice. I mean, this is a great meeting, but there's nothing like you said sitting around having a cup of espresso or whatever. So it'll be a lot of fun.
It'll be a homecoming.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.